Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks to The Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are doing a review of What Lies Beneath, which is a solo dungeon crawler of dice, decision, and death, which is designed by Chris Scafaldi and illustrated by Jason Glover. And thank you to Chris for sending me this copy to check out. Now what this game is this is a choose your own adventure book that has a little bit of dice play to kind of determine where it is you're going and how successful you are. In many ways, it reminds me a bit of the old Lone Wolf books, if you are old enough to know what those are. And some of the tests are going to require you to simply roll the dice, and other times you're actually going to be stacking dice up and then flicking other dice at them to see what happens and kind of do all of your different tests. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, and you are worried about any potential spoilers and just want to jump ahead to my final thoughts, you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. Last warning, there are some minor spoilers for the beginning of the game here. So the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to jump in and you're going to get some story, and I'm going to try to skip past as much of the story as I can, and you're going to come to the time where you have to get your character, and you're going to roll 2 dice, and if you get doubles, re-roll 1. So I got a 5 and 6, so I can choose, do I want to be a warrior or a wizard? And well, in honor of Beatrice, the board game dog, we're going to be a warrior. Okay, excuse my bad handwriting, and I'll put in my abilities here. I have 2 hit, 2 dex, 1 wit, and 8 vigor. Then you'll simply start moving through the game, going from page to page, story to story. So I've started here on E2, and we go through, and I'm going to have a choice. I can do an attack if I want. And so in this case, let's say I want to attack the rat. It says hit at 2. And then I would look at my hit value, which is 2, and that hit at 2 is my target. So I would roll 2 dice if I decided to attack it. And in this case, I succeeded. And success, I would gain 1 XP. If I failed, I would take some damage. Then we'll say I'm going to move on and keep on going. And so I would move through to the next thing. And again, we'll just kind of zip right through, and we'll assume that I'm going to attempt to retrieve the key. And so to retrieve the key, I'm going to stack up, and I can use my little page here. It's got a little ruler on it. It's a little hard to see, but it has inches marked. I stack up 2 dice, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches away from the edge, and then I'm going to flick a die. If I can flick the die and make it hit without knocking one off the top, then I will have succeeded. And there I succeeded. Now, if I had failed, because my dex is 2, I could have tried again. But I succeeded, and then I would have gained this item here, CP1, which I can write right here. And I can actually go to the back of the book here, and it will tell me what all of the items are as I'm kind of tracking what's going on. But I'm not going to go to the exact thing so you don't know what happens. And then again, I would move on. And then here, if I had the right key, I could do one thing. If I don't, I would have to go on and do something else. And then eventually I might run into something like a wit test. So in this case, a wit test of 4. And so in this case, I have to roll 4 dice and get these 4 dice into a run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. And because my wit is 1, I will get to take 1 wit action. So I will roll these, and we see I have 1, 2, 5. So it's actually not possible. Let's talk about what the wit actions that I could do are. One thing you can do with 1 wit action is you can flip a die to the other side. Another thing you can do is you can increase or decrease a die by 1. I'll say that 1 does not wrap to 6 or 6 to 1. Or you can take a die and re-roll it. And if you succeed in getting a run, then you have succeeded. If you don't, then you have failed, and you take whatever penalties there are. Now, that's the core of how the game works. However, as you're going through and you're gaining experience, you'll be able to spend that experience to increase your various stats and do other things as well. You'll be gaining karma and ward abilities, which are going to give you other bonuses that I don't want to get into right here, because again, I don't want to spoil all the fun if you're interested in this. And you're going to be getting a ton of different items and tags that are going to allow you to kind of jump around. However, another thing that I do need to point out is there's a little bit of roguelike going on in this game, because as you get into certain points in the story, when you die, then you'll be able to kind of start right away from there, kind of skipping some of the early parts of the story and keeping certain things that you may have had left over before you bit the big one. And that's pretty much how this game works. So, what do I like about this game? The first thing I'm going to say is the story's pretty engaging, which you would hope it would be because it is a choose-your-own-adventure book, and the story does keep you. I actually found myself, the first time I played through it was getting late. I was off on a business trip in the hotel, and I should have gone to bed, but I kept going back and starting again. So the story really does grab you and kind of pull you in. It also has, the semi-roguelike style, where after you get far enough, you can kind of just start at that singular point and you can carry over any unused experience that you have. And I think that is a clever way to do it, because even though you might be missing things that you could have picked up earlier, might not have as much experience, you're going to be able to kind of skip past a lot of the stuff that maybe you've done before, you're used to. And I think for a game that you are reading and flipping through pages, that actually is a very clever thing to kind of keep the game moving along. Next thing I'll say is I like the different ways the dice work. The stats are very simple, but the fact that you are doing an attack, you're trying to hit or get above a certain number with however many dice you get. When you're doing the intelligence test or the wit test, you're trying to adjust the dice so they are in a run. And then for the dex checks, you're actually doing a dexterity check with the dice, kind of sliding it along. And I think it all actually works quite well. I think it's pretty darn clever, and I certainly appreciate in the little laminated player board they sent me, which I'm pretty sure is just on the back of the book, it actually has a little ruler on the side, so you're able to just kind of have that measurement for the dex check. I think it works very well. I think it's interesting, and it's just a clever way, I think, to do the combat and the dex checks and all of those things, and it really kind of makes you think more about what it is that you want to get as you're going through. The last thing I'm going to say is I think the way the different tags work and the way you are finding things or maybe not finding things because you failed checks as you're going through, and then you're going to be able to use those later, I think that is spectacularly clever. And I know it's not necessarily a new thing, but in this style of game book, this is the first one I've encountered that does this. Now, to be fair, I played the Lone Wolf books and the Grey Fox and all of those books by Joe Devar back in the day, and I played the heck out of those. Haven't really played many since, but the way the tags work and the items and all, I find it very, very refreshing the way that works. So what are my quibbles with the game? Well, the first one is that dex check that I find kind of fun. You might really not like dexterity things, and especially a dexterity check that goes along with your game book. And it does have a variant that you can use, but it's just something that I think is particularly fun, but you might really think is not fun. And so that will kind of color how much stock you're putting in what I'm saying, how interested you are in doing that kind of dice dex check. Next thing I want to say is you're going to play through this book once or twice, and then you're probably going to be done with it. This is not one that you're going to play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Now, that said, it's not expensive. So you play it through twice, you've gotten your money's worth, absolutely. But you always have to talk about the unlimited replayability of games. That's what I say to that. But this one doesn't have it. You're going to play through once, maybe twice. Then, you'll give it to a friend or something. And the last thing I want to say is the characters are bland. And that is just because they just have slightly different stats. And there's a couple differences, but you're building up these stats as you're going through, but you're not... It doesn't feel like you're building a character per se. You're running the same character, and I kind of found that it was just a question of, well, I'm weak here, so I'm going to get one of these. And so it just kind of felt like I'm trying to build a balanced character or whatever it is. So it's not bad, but the character building is not an immersive thing. But there you have it, folks. That is What Lies Beneath. As always, if I made any mistakes on the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.